The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home from work, the wipers of my old Volvo struggling to keep up. I'm Emory, a software developer, and I live in Seattle. It was a typical Seattle evening, gray, wet, and miserable. Little did I know, the misery outside was about to be mirrored inside my own home, magnified tenfold. My wife, Willow, and I had been married for 7 years. 7 years of what I thought was blissful happiness. We met in college, both art students, her a painter and me dabbling in digital art before finding my true calling in coding. We built a life together, a cozy little house in the suburbs, a golden retriever named Gus, and a comfortable routine. But lately something felt off. Willow had been distant, working late at her gallery and always on her phone. I chalked it up to stress, the pressures of running her own business. I tried to be supportive, making dinner, doing extra chores, and offering a listening ear when she seemed burdened. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Willow's car wasn't there. Probably still at the gallery, I thought, trying to quell the unease that had been gnawing at me for weeks. I unlocked the front door, Gus bounding towards me, tail wagging furiously. "Hey, buddy," I said, scratching him behind the ears. "Where's Mom?" The house was quiet, too quiet. I tossed my briefcase on the kitchen counter and headed upstairs. I was planning to change into something more comfortable before starting dinner. As I passed our bedroom door, I heard voices, muffled but distinct. My heart skipped a beat. I crept closer, pressing my ear against the door. It was Willow, and she was talking to someone. The tone of her voice was different. It wasn't the voice she used with me, the gentle, loving tone I had grown accustomed to. This was softer, more intimate. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but the sound of her laughter, a light, carefree giggle, sent a shiver down my spine. A giggle I hadn't heard in years. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob. Should I knock? Should I just walk in? The uncertainty was agonizing. I took a deep breath and slowly turned the knob, pushing the door open just a crack. What I saw in that sliver of an opening shattered my world. Willow was sitting on the edge of our bed, facing away from the door. And standing in front of her, close enough to touch, was a man. Not just any man, but Jasper, Willow's colleague at the gallery. He was leaning in, his hand gently caressing her cheek. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the look on Willow's face, the way she was smiling, told me everything I needed to know. It was a look of pure adoration, a look she hadn't given me in a very long time. The blood drained from my face. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, the air knocked out of me. My hand slipped off the doorknob and the door creaked open a little further. They both turned, startled. Willow's face went white. "Emory," she gasped, her eyes wide with panic. Jasper stepped back, his expression a mix of surprise and guilt. He opened his mouth to say something, but I cut him off. "Get out," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Jasper didn't need to be told twice. He scurried out of the room, avoiding eye contact. I watched him go, my hands clenched into fists, every muscle in my body tense. When he was gone, I turned my attention to Willow. She was still sitting on the bed, her eyes fixed on the floor. What is this?" I asked, my voice trembling. She didn't answer, didn't look at me. She just sat there, silent, like a deer caught in headlights. "Willow, please," I begged. "Tell me what's going on." Finally, she looked up, her eyes filled with tears. "Emory," she started, then trailed off. "You what?" I pressed, my heart pounding in my chest. "I don't know how to say this," she said, her voice barely audible. "Just say it," I urged, my patience wearing thin. She took a deep breath and blurted out, "I've been seeing Jasper." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Seeing him," I repeated, my voice flat. "What does that mean, you've been seeing him?" She started to cry, the tears streaming down her face. "It just happened," she sobbed. "We were working late and one thing led to another. One thing led to another," I repeated, incredulous. "You're having an affair with Jasper," she nodded, her head bowed in shame. I stared at her, my mind reeling. How could this be happening? How could the woman I loved, the woman I had built my life with, betray me like this? "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated, then said, "A few months. A few months." The words echoed in my head. Few months of lies, of deceit, of sneaking around behind my back. "And Gus?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Does he know?" She looked at me, confused. "What?" "Just kidding," I said, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "It's just everything I thought I knew, everything I believed in. It's all a lie." I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her there, sobbing on the bed. I went downstairs, Gus following close behind, sensing my distress. I grabbed my keys and wallet and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" Willow called after me. "I don't know," I said, my voice shaking. "Anywhere but here." I slammed the door behind me and got into my car, the rain still pouring down. I drove aimlessly, not knowing where I was going, just wanting to escape the pain, the betrayal, the devastation. I ended up at a bar, a dive bar on the outskirts of town. I ordered a whiskey neat and downed it in one gulp. I ordered another and another, the alcohol numbing the pain, if only temporarily. I sat there for hours, lost in my thoughts, replaying the scene in my head, trying to make sense of it all. How could Willow do this to me? What had I done wrong? Was I not good enough? Was I not attentive enough? Was I not enough? The questions swirled in my mind, unanswered, unresolved. I stumbled home late that night, drunk and disoriented. Willow was asleep on the couch, a blanket pulled over her. I looked at her, my heart aching with a mix of love and resentment. I wanted to wake her up, to scream at her, to demand answers, but I couldn't. I just stood there staring at her, tears streaming down my face. I went upstairs and collapsed on the bed, fully clothed. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. The image of Willow and Jasper together, the sound of her laughter, replayed in my mind, torturing me. The next morning I woke up with a pounding headache and a heavy heart. Willow was gone. She had left a note on the kitchen counter. "Emory," it read, "I'm so sorry, I don't know what to say. I've gone to stay with my sister for a while. I need some space to figure things out. I'll call you." I crumpled the note in my hand, rage building inside me. Space. She needed space. What about me? What about the space she had created between us, the space filled with lies and deceit? I spent the next few days in a daze, going through the motions of life but not really living. I went to work, but I couldn't concentrate. I ate, but I couldn't taste anything. I slept, but I had nightmares. I talked to my friends, Jonah and Celeste, told them what had happened. They were supportive, offering words of comfort and encouragement, but nothing could ease the pain. "You need to get out there, Emory," Jonah said. "You can't just sit around and mope. Go do something, anything to take your mind off it." "He's right," Celeste added. "Go to the gym, go for a hike, go see a movie. Just get out of the house." I knew they were right, but I couldn't bring myself to do anything. I was paralyzed by the pain, the betrayal, the loss. Then one day I decided I had had enough. I couldn't let Willow's actions define me. I couldn't let her steal my happiness, my life. I had to do something. I started by going to the gym. I hadn't worked out in months and I was out of shape. But I pushed myself, lifting weights, running on the treadmill, sweating out the pain and anger. I started eating healthy, cooking nutritious meals, taking care of my body. I started reading again, something I hadn't done in a long time. I rediscovered my love for coding, spending hours working on personal projects. Slowly, gradually, I started to heal. The pain didn't disappear completely, but it became more manageable. I started to see a future for myself, a future without Willow. A few weeks later, Willow called. I hesitated before answering, my heart pounding in my chest. "Emory," she said, her voice tentative. "Willow," I replied, my voice flat. I wanted to talk to you," she said. "About what?" I asked. "About us," she said. "About what happened. There is no us, Willow," I said, my voice cold. "You made sure of that. Please, Emory," she begged. "Just hear me out," I sighed. "Fine," I said. "But make it quick." She told me her side of the story, how she had been feeling neglected, how she had been craving attention, how Jasper had made her feel special. She admitted she had made a mistake, a terrible mistake, and she was sorry. "I know I hurt you, Emory," she said, her voice breaking. "And I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope someday you can understand." I listened in silence, my heart unmoved. I had heard enough. "I'm done, Willow," I said. "I want a divorce." The line went silent. I could hear her crying softly on the other end. "Emory, please," she sobbed. "Don't do this. I'm already doing it," I said. "Goodbye, Willow." I hung up the phone, my hands shaking. It was over. The marriage, the love, the life we had built together, all gone. It was a painful ending, but it was necessary. I filed for divorce a few days later. Willow didn't contest it. It was a clean break. We divided our assets, sold the house, and went our separate ways. I haven't seen or spoken to Willow since. I don't know where she is or what she's doing. And frankly, I don't care. I've moved on with my life. I've found a new apartment, a new job, new friends. I'm still healing, still learning to trust again. But I'm stronger now, more resilient. I know I can survive anything. And as I look back on that rainy evening, the evening when my world fell apart, I realized that it was also the evening when I started to rebuild myself to create a new life, a better life, a life free from lies and deceit. The betrayal cut deep. The pain was immense, but in the end it made me who I am today. A stronger, wiser, and more compassionate man. It's strange how life works, isn't it? Sometimes the greatest tragedies can lead to the greatest transformations, and sometimes the deepest betrayals can reveal the truest version of ourselves. Remember, even in the darkest storms, there is always hope for a brighter tomorrow. Never give up on yourself and never lose faith in the power of resilience.